Good afternoon and welcome to the third of the Rector's recipes. And today, as you will no doubt know, is Maundy Thursday, and I'm going to make some Anzac biscuits. And I'll explain in a moment the history behind those, and I'll also talk a little bit about what Maundy Thursday is. And the idea of the Anzac biscuits is that they represent the 30 pieces of silver that Jesus received when he betrayed Judas. I'm going to start cooking and then I'll fill you in with some of the things as we go along. So when you're baking in the oven, one of the most important things to do is to get your oven on and preheated before you start. And it means then that by the time you come to put whatever you're baking in the oven, your oven has got to the right temperature. Mine being a gas oven does take a while to heat up. The second thing that it's always good to do as you get started is to prepare your tins. So I'm going to grease a baking tray that we're going to put the biscuits on. I've got a second one there. And I find one of the easiest ways to grease is just to use one of the spray oils and then just to use a pastry brush just to spread it. You don't need a lot, just a thin covering just to make sure that the biscuits don't stick. You might have parchment paper that you use or greaseproof paper, they always help. But if you've got good non-stick trays, then you should be able to manage without. Just put a light covering of grease on the two trays. Now, I'm not quite sure how many biscuits we'll end up with, whether we'll end up with 30, we'll wait and see. And so the biscuits are made by what we call the melting method. So we're going to melt some ingredients and then we've got the dry ingredients and we will add in the melted ingredients. So first of all, I've got everything already measured out, so I'm going to put into my mixing bowl here. I've got 75 grams of porridge oats, and you do need the proper oats. Don't use oatmeal because that's too fine and it won't give the nice texture to the biscuits. And then I've got 85 grams of desiccated coconut. That's going to go in. 100 grams of plain flour. Now obviously with biscuits we don't need biscuits to rise, so we tend to use plain flour when we're making biscuits. And I've got 100 grams of caster sugar. You probably would get away with just using granulated sugar for this recipe. When you're making cakes, caster sugar's important because you need that finer texture. And I'm sure the recipe would work with demerara sugar or soft brown sugar. Might even give it a nicer flavour. So I'm just going to roughly mix those together now. So that's our dry ingredients. And then the other ingredients we're going to melt together. So I've got 100 grams here of butter. You can use margarine. It'll work just as well. Just putting that into a pan to melt. Put the heat on. There we are. Oops. So as that melts, I'm going to just stir it round. This will take a little bit of time. So going back to Maundy Thursday. So Maundy Thursday, if we think back about what happened during Holy Week, Maundy Thursday was the day that Jesus met with his disciples in the upper room and where they had their Last Supper together. And the word Maunday, similar to the word mandate, has the base that means a command or an order. And during the course of that meal, not only does Jesus share the bread and wine, the everyday foods of the time, with his disciples, but he commands them to love one another. And we know that Jesus actually demonstrates that through washing his disciples' feet. And normally that job would be done by a servant, the lowest ranking person. And so you can imagine that the disciples would have been horrified that Jesus himself ties the towel round his waist, gets down on his knees and washes his disciples' feet. So we'll continue talking about that in a minute. Just going to turn that right down. So the butter's now melted. So into there I'm going to add a tablespoon of golden syrup. We seem to have used golden syrup in all the recipes so far this week. So I'm just going to warm the spoon a little bit so the syrup comes off. Just on the gas ring. We want 1 spoonful of syrup because this is going to add some sweetness to the recipe. Just going to stir that in. It's sticky. And just melt that into the melted butter. So I'm just going to turn the heat off now. And our last ingredient to use is some bicarbonate of soda, and this will just help the biscuits just to rise a little bit and give them their texture. And the thing about bicarbonate of soda is you do have to be careful what recipes you use it in, because it can leave a bit of a flavour. So I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, just a level spoonful. Bicarbonate of soda is an amazing ingredient because you can use it for cleaning as well. It's great for cleaning a lot of different things. You look up, you can find. And into that I'm going to add a tablespoon, I think it's 2 tablespoons of water. So I'll just put the kettle back on. I've already pre-boiled it just to warm it up again. And then I'm going to mix it in with the bicarbonate of soda. That's going to go into the liquid mixture. So that's almost there. There we are. Now, of course, as soon as you add water to it and warmth, then the bicarbonate of soda starts reacting and fizzing. You've ever done that science lesson where you put vinegar on bicarbonate soda and it all fizzes up. So just mixing those together, and then that goes into your melted mixture. Just stir that round, and then the whole lot is going to go into the dried mixture. I'm just going to make a little bit of a well in the middle, and then pour this in. You can see it's quite frothy from the bicarbonate of soda. I'm just mixing that around. I'm just mixing that round now, putting everything in until all the oats, all the dry ingredients are covered in the syrupy mixture. There we are, just about there. Just take a spoon, just take that off and mix it round together. There we are. So you can see it's not quite stuck together because it doesn't need to at this stage. So what we're going to do now is make the actual biscuits. So look at our baking tray. We need some dessert spoonfuls I find a soup spoon often works better because you can scoop the mixture up better. And we need to get rough spoonfuls, and sometimes you can just use your fingers just to put it together. And what you need to remember is that as the biscuits cook, they're going to spread out. And so you need to leave room on the baking tray for them to spread out. In fact, I'm just going to use my fingers, I think it's easier. So don't need to flatten it too much. I'm going to get about 12 on the tray, and I think I'm certainly going to need my second baking tray. There we are. So, going back, Anzac biscuits. Well, Anzac actually stands for the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. And we remember them at Gallipoli in the First World War. And when they invaded Gallipoli, there was huge loss of life. And Anzac biscuits were sent to the soldiers, to the Australian and New Zealand soldiers. And in New Zealand and Australia, they have what they call Anzac Day, which is the 25th of April each year. There's big parades, and they remember all the soldiers that were lost. And today it's a bit, I think it must be a bit like our Remembrance Sunday, when originally it was the soldiers of the First and then the Second World War, but we tend now to remember all those who served in the armed forces, who've lost their lives over the years. So Anzac biscuits were originally sent to the forces, and then it's taken on that extra meaning of having Anzac Day. And so being biscuits, they kept fairly well so that they could be transported to wherever the soldiers were serving. And the original recipe was a lot drier, not quite as sweet as this, so that the biscuits would keep for longer and they'd be sent out to the soldiers. So we've got our first tray full there. So I'm going to just wash my hands and get those put into the oven, and then I'll get on with the second tray. So you can see the biscuits there. They're about, 3 centimetres, a couple of inches across and round. So you don't need to worry about shaping them too much, because once they're in the oven they're going to spread out. So I'm going to put that first tray full in. There we are. It'll take about 8 to 10 minutes. I'm just going to put my oven timer on. So I'll put it on for 9 minutes for now, and I'll get on and do these in a minute. So we're thinking about Maundy Thursday, and as I say, it was the day Jesus met with his disciples in the upper room. It was when he washed their feet, putting into action being a servant. And he shared the bread and the wine, and he used those words, "This is my body, do this in remembrance of me," with the bread, and then with the wine, drink this to remember me. And of course Christians carry on that tradition within the service of Holy Communion or the Eucharist or Mass within their churches to remember Jesus through the sacraments. And of course at the moment that's all not as easy. We have to wear face masks and all the rest of it. And we remember how Judas betrayed Jesus. Judas received those 30 pieces of silver. And after the Last Supper, Jesus and his disciples go out into the Garden of Gethsemane. And at that point, Jesus prays. And then Judas comes up to him with the soldiers and betrays Jesus with that kiss to identify who Jesus was. And so these are now going to cook. Those of you that are watching online, I'm going to pause this now and then I will show you some of the biscuits when they are cooked.